Live with coverage you can count on. This is Action 2 News HD at 5.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news from the village of Howard, where authorities confirm one person is dead due to a natural gas truck explosion. It happened about 1:30 this afternoon in an industrial park on Pamperin Road. That's where Jennifer Ann Wilson joins us live with the latest details. Jennifer.
Well, Bill, officers are telling me that the truck belongs to this company you see behind me, AMI Ace Manufacturing, and that it left this property around 1:25 p.m., then drove along Pamperin towards Cornell about 300 yards when it exploded in the middle of the street. You can see what's left of the truck just there in the road, with Brown County Sheriff investigators still on the scene collecting evidence. Now, there is still debris scattered all over the road. There's liquid you can even see on the ground. We're hearing that that is actually fuel. Now, officers say there were two people in the truck at the time of the explosion. One person, as Bill mentioned, has been killed, but the other person is injured. Investigators from the Brown County Sheriff's Office are collecting evidence on the scene, but they say they don't expect any more explosions. They don't expect anything else to happen that could cause any damage or injury. The Village of Howard Fire Chief did speak with us on camera to tell us what they believe may have triggered this explosion.
Something in the load of the vehicle shifted and it compromised the compressed natural gas fuel system. Consequently, there was a detonation of the fuel system. For a period of time, we were in fear of an explosion potential, so we evacuated businesses in the immediate area.
Well, employees were allowed to return to work by around 2:30 p.m. and investigators had kept a very wide perimeter, but about 30 minutes ago, they shrunk that down, reopening nearby roads and just focused their attention on the area you see behind me here. Now, this explosion shook the entire neighborhood. Coming up at 6 p.m., you'll hear from witnesses who tell us what they saw, what they heard, and what they felt. Reporting live in Howard, Jennifer Ann Wilson, Action 2 News.
Good evening. Breaking news tonight out of the village of Howard in Brown County, where emergency crews say one person is dead, another hurt after a truck exploded.
It happened on Pamperin Road near Gruber Road at 1:30 this afternoon. Jennifer Ann Wilson's live now with the details. Jennifer.
Well, Bill, Cammie, things have definitely calmed down quite a bit here at Pamperin and Gruber since the last time we spoke. But as you can see behind me, investigators are still on scene and two tow trucks have just arrived. They appear to be aiding in the cleanup from the aftermath of this explosion. Now, investigators have so far determined that the truck was carrying a piece of heavy equipment in the cargo area. Investigators say the truck was attempting to make a left turn when it appears that the equipment shifted and pierced a fuel tank, and that is what caused the truck to explode. Now, investigators are no longer concerned about additional explosions, but they are still collecting evidence and cleaning up from this explosion that shook the entire neighborhood. The truck had only traveled 100 yards before it exploded in the middle of the
roadway. Something in the load of the vehicle shifted and it compromised the compressed natural gas fuel system. Consequently, there was a detonation of the fuel system.
The impact of the explosion was felt by those who lived a half a mile away.
I had just woken up, was making lunch. All of a sudden, I just heard a really loud bang and my entire apartment shook.
Yeah, it was a scary situation. It wasn't thunder, you know, that's your first intuition, but when, like I said, it didn't sound like thunder, so the first thing that goes through your mind then is explosion, and that's what it was.
For a period of time, we were in fear of an explosion potential, so we evacuated businesses in the immediate area.
Employees of nearby companies were allowed to return to work around 2:30 p.m., but given strict instructions.
Trying to stay out of the front where all of our vehicles are parked, trying to stay on this side of the building, stay away from windows.
Well, officials say the driver of the truck was killed on scene. They say there was a passenger who is being treated for injuries right now. No word yet on whether nearby buildings or vehicles were damaged from the debris that flew from the explosion, but investigators are still on site cleaning up, still collecting evidence. And as I mentioned, those tow trucks have arrived. They appear to be helping in the cleanup process. Investigators say they do expect to be on scene here for several more hours. Reporting live in Howard, Jennifer Ann Wilson, Action 2 News.
Jennifer, thank you. In a statement released within the past 20 minutes, Ace Manufacturing sends out its thoughts and prayers to the victim's family. It also says, quote, "We are a small and close-knit company, and this has shaken and saddened all of us," end quote. The company says it is cooperating with authorities as the investigation continues.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Brown County Sheriff's Office today identifies the one man killed and the one man injured in yesterday's truck explosion in the village of Howard. The office says the driver, 59-year-old Gerald Throw Sr., died in the explosion. The passenger, 29-year-old Jose Perez, suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Authorities say the explosion happened about 1:30 yesterday afternoon on Pamperin Road. They say initial information indicates the box-style truck was slowing to make a turn into a parking lot when its load shifted and possibly punctured the compressed natural gas fuel system, which subsequently detonated. The explosion remains under investigation. We wanted to know just how safe CNG fueled vehicles are. Sarah Thompson has been investigating. She joins us with what she's learned. Sarah.
Cammie, industry leaders say vehicles fueled by compressed natural gas, or CNG, are very safe. The Department of Energy even says they are as safe as gas or diesel and have been crash tested to prove it. There are also a lot more of them on the road than a lot of people realize. Nearly 1/4 of Paper Transport's entire fleet currently runs on CNG.
We've been running natural gas trucks for just over 4 years now. It's been a good opportunity for us, created a lot of new opportunities because of, again, companies looking for that green benefit and the environmental benefits.
The company says making sure its drivers are safe in these trucks is its top priority.
From a safety standpoint, we did a lot of research on that before we ever bought our first truck. And, the industry has done a lot of research on it.
The national organization Natural Gas Vehicles of America says there are more than 140,000 CNG-powered vehicles, including many trucks and buses, currently operating in the U.S. From our research, explosions like the one in Howard appear rare.
I would tell you that it's the first I've ever heard of it, an accident, just a tragic event. And unfortunately, in trucking industry and on our motorways, there's accidents every day.
With an expected increase in demand in these vehicles, companies like Integris are continually building new fueling stations, but says it will only do it knowing it's safe.
It's absolutely safe to use. CNG is stored in a pressurized tank, and it has been designed to withstand severe impact, temperature, and environmental exposure.
Industry experts point to this crash test video showing the tanks tested to handle a bullet and collision. Integris says the industry as a whole will be closely watching the investigation results from yesterday's accident. And with the increasing popularity of these vehicles, it also changes the way rescue crews respond. We'll explain that tonight at 6.
We are learning new information about a truck explosion in the village of Howard 3 weeks ago today. The driver was killed, a passenger hurt, when investigators say the truck's load shifted and pierced the compressed natural gas, or CNG, fuel system. While the Brown County Sheriff's Office is still working on a crash reconstruction study, it tells us that these 4 federal agencies, NASA, the National Traffic Safety Board, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and the Clean Vehicle Education Foundation, which says it investigates for the Department of Energy, are all looking into what happened. As Sarah Thompson found out in tonight's top story, the explosion may prompt industry-wide changes for CNG fuel vehicles.
Local and even federal investigators tell Action 2 News they've never seen an explosion like this. Even though CNG-fueled vehicles are relatively new, they've been crash tested repeatedly, as this video from the Clean Vehicle Education Foundation shows.
It was believed to be that these type of cylinders were basically virtually indestructible, and we saw in this particular case it was an anomaly that probably didn't think of that it was a very tragic event, and we hope not to view this again.
While local investigators study what happened, the Brown County Sheriff's Office says several federal agencies want to know more. The State Patrol reached out to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and other groups to get safety advocates involved.
Their concerns are promulgating rules, reviewing current rules or regulations to see if we need to change the way this new technology type of vehicle in the large vehicles, the way that they're regulated, or give recommendations or standards standards for manufacturers to perhaps prevent this from happening again.
Sergeant Mark Abrahamson says crash history for these types of vehicles doesn't really exist, which is why, though tragic, they may learn from what happened in Howard.
It is good technology. It has a valid place in the economy of the United States, so there's good, valid reasons to look at it. We just need to probably make some more improvements to it.
Sarah Thompson, Action 2 News, Brown County.
A deadly truck explosion in Howard last month prompted a special training class for emergency responders. Sarah Thompson shows us why national experts in training and responding to emergencies involving alternative fuels are in northeast Wisconsin this week.
When emergency crews were dispatched for a report of a truck explosion in Howard in April, they had no idea exactly what they were facing. They had to wait to approach the truck before they knew it was safe and no more explosions would occur.
When we responded to that, obviously, our first objective was to try to determine what we were actually dealing with, and it was unlike anything that I've seen before.
Investigators say a forklift in the back of the truck shifted, piercing the compressed natural gas fuel tank, causing an explosion. That accident, as well as the increasing popularity of CNG and other alternative fueled vehicles, prompted Howard Fire Chief Ed Yonke to call in national experts.
It's been rather enthusiastic in the classroom because the firefighters, they want this information.
Through a FEMA grant, trainers with the National Alternative Fuels Training Consortium are spending part of this week in Howard to train the trainers, including law enforcement, fire, and even fleet managers of private companies from across the state. Local emergency responders will then go back to their departments and teach their own crews the best way to respond to incidents involving these vehicles.
As the world around us changes, we need to adapt, and this is something in the fire service that we've been aware of for a while. We've been looking for ways to deal with these types of issues and incidents involving these types of fuel systems.
In this case, knowledge means safety.
If we understand them, then we certainly can be safe.
Sarah Thompson, Action 2 News, Howard.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Action 2 News has learned the Brown County Sheriff's Office has completed its final report on this truck blast near Ace Manufacturing in Howard. This happened back in April. Gerald Throw Sr., the truck driver, died, and the passenger, Jose Perez, was injured. In tonight's top story, Sarah Thompson found out what investigators say caused the crash and why some federal agencies are so interested in their findings.
9,000 pounds going 22 miles an hour. That takes a lot to stop that.
It's taken more than 2 months, but Brown County investigators have determined a combination of speed, weight, and an unsecured load caused the fatal incident.
The circumstance certainly was that that vehicle in the back of the truck should have been properly secured, and it wasn't.
Captain Randy Schultz says the driver loaded this forklift on the truck but never secured it. The passenger didn't know it, and the two drove 300 yards down the street. Crash reconstruction shows they were traveling between 17 and 22 miles an hour when the driver applied the brakes to turn, and the 9,000-pound forklift rolled, its fork piercing one of the 5 compressed natural gas, or CNG, tanks powering the truck. The tank's fiberglass web, similar to this, shredded and released all the gas at once.
It's a decompression, not an explosion. Yes, there was no fire. It's just that tank, the gas came out of that tank that quickly that it caused that kind of damage and noise, and it was tremendous.
Citing extensive crash tests, industry experts never thought this could happen. It's why, as we've reported, several federal agencies have investigated this incident to ensure CNG vehicles are safe for future use. In NASA's case, Schultz says that's for the Moon rover and space shuttles.
You know, they were pretty thorough in a lot of tests on those tanks. You would think that this would have some bearing on change.
Schultz says it serves no purpose to file charges in this incident. Instead, he hopes others can learn from it so it never happens again. Sarah Thompson, Action 2 News, Brown County.